resolved here, so we're going to be heading right back into game. Game number 2 in progress here against Authority versus CLG. Getting right back into it.
Wow, so actually, the king of awkwardness here, thank you very much, but we actually see Talon going mid against Big Fat, so, you know, he will have that silence against Anivia. He provides that great control in that mid lane. We'll see whether or not he can pick up some kills. And then top, we see CLG. We have Double Lift and Chouster coming up here to shut down MoMA. And so, you know, this is going to be a very difficult lane for Gangplank, but Gangplank was able to get that early blue. So CLG getting that early blue for Gangplank so that they can 2v1 in bot and then send their lane up top. So
Talon going mid against Anivia. That was the whole grand scheme. That was the whole. That was just the objective that we were trying to see here. But so mid lane, we don't see Talon mid lane that much, do we?
No, I mean, Talon is definitely a very effective counter against a number of AP champions. You're right, he hasn't been played a lot, so it will be interesting to see. I can't remember the last game. You know, I had seen him in a tournament kind of setting.
Yeah.
This is actually the awkward pause, for me earlier. But we will be back in this game shortly. But I don't know. It should be interesting. The silence is definitely a very effective counter. He has the physical damage. He has once again sustained damage. So if he can burst down Anivia with his ignite, then he's going to be able to provide that control in mid lane.
So we could also take a look at the lanes we have set up. So we do have a lane switch on bot lane for CLG. So Gangplank has decided to go bot. We got Corky and Jaina up top lane to try and do some counter activity there. And usually there's something with switching lanes that usually the first team to switch lanes has the advantage, because you're forcing the other team to also switch lanes, and within that process you have 3 champs. They're not in lane, they're not getting gold, they're not getting experience, they're not getting last hits, they're not really getting a whole bunch of anything. They're just trying to equalize the playing field, and that process is the advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, we'll see whether or not CLG is able to take advantage with this matchup that they have. Both Fizz and Talon need to get farm, need to get those levels in order to be effective in the game. And right now, though we have the pause screen, Fizz only has 1 CS, a couple minutes into the game.
Right.
So when we start back up, how much farm is Fizz going to be able to get against Corky and Jaina? Fizz has a ton of damage regardless, but in order to be really effective through those mid-game fights, they definitely need to get that farm going.
So I mean, Corky and Fizz is a very evasive little bugger, and he can get away from all those skill shots that Corky has, and he can get away from a little bit of Jaina's stuff too. But pause is over. We're getting right back into it, and we will see how MoMA fares top lane.
Yeah, and so I mean, once again, it is going to be a very difficult matchup for him. If we can go back into the game, thank you. We do have Yellow trying to get some good control over Hotshot here, but Urgot's definitely going to run out of mana before Hotshot will, so he can farm with that parley. He does have that heal spam ability, and that is going to be a pretty even lane without Leona coming, because Leona is actually coming top to try and support MoMA here.
Yellow pushing as much as he can against Hotshot in the bot lane, but mid CLG is pushing, top CLG is pushing. So it's trying to equalize a little bit, but Shyvana St. Vish has got the red buff. I think we might actually be having some action here trying to get the gank down on Yellow. He actually does not have vision on Shyvana. Now he does. There's a defensive ward in that tri-bush, so he knows he's in a little bit of trouble. He's pinned up against the wall. St. Vish is trying to peg off a little bit of damage, but not going to be enough.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. Yellow Star, he does have that great range capability. He doesn't have a lot of survivability to gank, so we actually see Hotshot coming in here, getting some great damage off. And St. Vicious with the exhaust, they're coming in for the kill.
Right under tower, can they get it?
Though.
Hotshot's still there.
Saint almost going down,
but
there. The first blood for Hotshot.
Look at St. Vicious. St. Vicious, that was single-digit health. That was single-digit health. Barely getting
Yellow
away.
Star almost picking up the double kill, but Linak is coming up top. He is going to be trying to get a gank off, and with that stun from Leona, he can maybe set it up. The issue is, we do have a lot of survivability with the Jaina Whirlwinds. With Corky's Valkyrie, it will be tough to engage in that lane.
Yeah. In order for Linak to be able to get into that bush, they have to clear the minion wave first, but they're not going to be able to do it as effectively. He has to come in through the river. River is warded, so CLG knows when to back off, and Linak just has to go back right to the jungle. So as now also returning to the mid, and we've got the let's take a look at the creep score. 26-24. It's fairly even, but we also see Linak doing a little bit of counter jungling, trying to out counter jungle the big counter jungler in Shyvana.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a strength of Udyr as well, and so we are actually seeing he is coming back up, and we don't have a ward here, so N-Rated chasing him down, but is going to have to flash out of there, is getting very low, so now Linek not going to be able to really be that effective, get some damage off, but because, you know, they were behind, MoMA just too low, N-Rated getting too low, not able to get a successful gank there.
Yeah. In order for a gank like that to be successful, you have to have the rest of your team in that lane right behind you doing what they need to do to get that kill, but N-Rated just got way too low, just got way too chunked out and had to back out. But St. Vicious now in turn also stealing the Wraiths. Yellow and Hotshot still going down bot lane. The creep score actually, Yellow's actually doing quite a pretty good job. Pretty good for himself right now. But St. Vicious coming up from behind Soaz. He's pushing out a little bit too far. Gonna take a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough to gank Talon. I mean, if Anivia is able to get the stun, then, you know, they will have that presence. But with the invisibility, coupled with the fact that, you know, Shyvana isn't the most aggressive, you know, ganker, it'll be tough. They would really need vision, and Talon can be very defensive in that lane, particularly with Anivia there. But we'll have to see. You know, Anivia is definitely going to want to be safe. Anivia tends to push the lane, which will make her very vulnerable to that Talon. He doesn't really want to tower dive Anivia, but we'll have to see how that works out for them.
Yeah, just for a moment, we had 3 champs in mid lane. So this was actually being pinged out. I think they wanted to try and get something happening in mid lane, but you know, he's 6 now. He's got his ult. He can stealth away. He can get away rather easily if need be. So it's going to be even more difficult to gank at this point.
Yeah, and we see Urgot, you know, has some great control down bot, but again, Gangplank just too tanky. With that blue buff early, he can just farm, and so Linek, I'm not sure if he's going to keep this blue. He might just hold it for himself to try and speed up his farm. It would be really nice to get on Soaz, so he is actually going to stall off and hold it for him. So Soaz will be able to pick it off. It will give him that spam ability. Actually, Linek, sorry, I thought he was stopping for a second. But Linek is just going to keep it for himself, and that's, I mean, it does give him, you know, a much faster clear. He can spam and, you know, give them that jungle presence that they really need.
Phoenix, Udyr. And Udyr, I mean, if you're an Udyr and you change your skills quite often, that blue buff does so much for your mana and your regen. Keeps you in the fight longer. Let's see, what's his turtle stance? His turtle stance actually up there. But so Dragon actually going down here.
A really aggressive, just before 8-minute Dragon for CLG. We do have a Vamp Scepter on St. Vicious, coupled that with Janna. They can take it pretty effectively. And knowing that, you know, we have the 2 top from Against All Authority, they don't really have the best control. So a really aggressive Dragon from CLG, able to pick that up.
And that's again, and if you notice too, they did a little bit of a partial switch. Doublelift stayed top. Chouster started roaming a little bit. So when we got Vision, 2 champs top lane, he was like, you know what, we can outnumber them at Dragon right now. And they slipped in. But Doublelift has to Valkyrie out to get away. But then again, you know, while they did take Dragon, Doublelift is definitely vulnerable for a little while, but we got the reinforcements coming in, Chouster and St. Vicious on the way. But Hotshot actually took quite a big chunk as well.
Yeah, and now that we see, you know, some of these champions hitting 6, we definitely have a lot more presence in this game from Against All Authority. Once again, they have great burst, but Doublelift actually getting some great harass on the MoMA, backing off just perfect timing as N-Rated was trying to come in with the stun. So, you know, they will back off there, but great control so far from CLG for an early advantage.
Solid play. 9 minutes in, we got the Dragon, and that is the difference in this game right now. CLG 1K in gold ahead. And we still got a little bit of lane switch action here. So Chouster's rejoined Doublelift in the top. Hotshot gonna be returning to bot lane to face off against Yellow. And right now Soaz trying to get the Wraiths, but will be caught out by St. Vicious, but Linek is not too far behind. Gets the bear stance, stun on St. Vicious, has to Dragon away to escape. Knew it was in a bit of a hairy situation, had to get out of there.
Yeah, they did have the pink ward there, so, you know, they could have a little bit more control. They wanted that control over their jungle, but it would have been interesting if we saw a fight, whether or not Soaz, you know, wouldn't have realized it, but the pink ward actually dying right at the beginning of that fight. So, you know, nothing's going to happen. But I don't know, we'll see whether or not we see some aggression from some of these champions. Talon kind of sitting back, wants to just get some levels until he knows he can just burst down Anivia. When it happens, when he knows he's safe, he'll be able to jump in for the kill.
Hotshot's actually been quite hugging his tower quite a bit so far this game. It's just being pushed relentlessly by both Linek and Yellow. It's just, you know, Urgot's getting in with the harass he needs. And I think, you know, you have all that tracking. That's a lot of damage you could do from quite a far distance away.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has that lane sustainability. It is a very effective matchup for Hotshot, and then as the game progresses, they have a great fight control. The raised morale from Gangplank will provide them with a lot of fight control, but there actually is Yellow Star with the ultimate. Can Soaz get in range? He will get in there, but I don't think they have enough damage, so there's the Ignite going off. We have Yellow going to be able to egg Anivia, but they don't really have the follow-up, so St. Vicious able to dissuade them for a little bit. They're going to get some nice damage on the Big Bat here, but then Soaz is going to be very close to going down. If Anivia turns in,
can we get
the stun underneath the tower.
Need?
Yellow Star very close to going off, but we actually do see CLG just retreating.
The Ignite going down on Yellow, just everyone barely being able to get away. But I think Soaz maybe a little bit overzealous here. I think it would be in his best interest to back off a little bit. They're still a little bit outnumbered in mid. That was close. That was
once
really
again,
close.
fantastic defensive play from CLG, just barely able to survive all that burst. And if you can survive those early kills, you know, we do have a very strong snowball comp from Against All Authority where they're trying to get that early advantage. Urgot, Talon, Fizz, all trying to get an early advantage. And if CLG can stop that, then they definitely have a lot of fight control. All their disables with Janna, with Anivia, it'll be very tough for this basically melee team to get up in their face.
There was a little bit of indecision, though, in that last team fight. You saw Soaz backing off just a little bit. You saw Yellow backing off just a little bit. It was like, oh, Anivia's an egg. Do we still keep going for the kill? Do we let her respawn? Do we just go away? They couldn't make a decision right there. That could have been a kill.
Yeah, it could have, but at the same time, they were both very low. We had, you know, great control from St. Vicious coming in. Big Fat had gotten them pretty low, so it would have been tough. They would have had to go in for the kill. But actually, we have the Flash Frost onto Soaz, and his ultimate is up, but we have an Oracles on St. Vicious, so they're still chasing. But that early Oracles on St. Vicious is going to be huge. They're going to have the ward control, and they're going to be able to, you know, control some of these fights with Talon just completely shut him down early in this game.
While St. Vicious has an Oracle, we also see that Linek has one as well. But I think the Oracle's being a little bit more beneficial here.
Yeah, and so we actually
MoMA being focused down by Doublelift and Chouster. We got pings going down, we got CBs going down around Dragon Area 2. But here comes Linek with the Oracles coming on up the top lane.
Oh, wow. So a kill on the Yellow Star. Very effective play from St. Vicious. And actually in top as well, we have a fight going on. MoMA and Linek trying to get that kill. Doublelift chasing him down. So is able probably to get that kill. Can we have the juke? No. So he will go down, and now Linek chasing. Able to get the kill. Is actually going to be able to chase down Chouster as well. He doesn't have a slow, but he will be dealing a ton of damage. The flash out from Chouster will be able to get him out of there. But we have the flash from Linek with the stun. One more thing. Oh, not able to get it. Just barely. Another couple of procs from that Phoenix stance would have been able to pick up that kill.
Unfortunate, but you know what? We get a whole bunch of kills back to back to back, and I think I don't know, who ended out ahead in that. I think, you know, CLG definitely got the better end of that one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It was a, you know, strong exchange for them. We did see Linek was able to pick up a couple of kills top, but if you can get Gangplank going, if you can kind of shut down Urgot, then, you know, that's definitely strong, and Doublelift was able to pick up the kill in the exchange as well.
So 2-3, we see CLG, they got a nice little 2K gold lead for themselves. They're in a nice spot early on, about 14 minutes in, waiting for Dragon to come back.